Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and thanks for joining me for today's video and spending some of your time with me. Really appreciate that. Guys, today I want to have a conversation and just sort of like a general discussion on what the heck has happened to all the big fish or the bigger fish in most of our lakes across the country. If you can see the thumbnail that I put in this video, that was a picture taken down at Lake Okeechobee. Unbelievable string of bass. Every one of those fish are well over 10 pounds, taken back in the 1940s at Lake Okeechobee. And guys, you don't see that anymore. You do not see those type of strings of bass ever caught. And I want to discuss that because I have seen the consistent and gradual progression on our lakes across the country where we just don't have the big fish like we used to have in it. So we're going to get into that video or get the topic today, and going to give you guys my opinion, and I'm looking forward to hearing your guys' feedback on that as well. Also, guys, before we get started, thank you very much for everybody that's taken time to hit that subscribe button here at Intuitive Angling. Really appreciate that. Guys, if you hit the subscribe button, share the videos, hit that like button, it really pushes the channel out in a big way. And also, guys, if you want to go to the next level on the channel, you can be an Intuitive Angling channel member. And channel members, we have them, the membership starting like at $4.99 a month, and you get free videos, 2 extra videos every week that are not seen by the public, private videos. And then you also get access to my personal email address, so you can email me personally with your fishing questions and I'll respond to them. So just go to the my YouTube homepage, hit the join button or the membership button for information there, and I really appreciate that. Okay, guys, the reason I wanted to do this video is I came across that picture in the thumbnail here, and I just thought it was a perfect illustration on the problem that we have today. Simply that in 2025, the number of big fish we have in this country is down to next to nothing compared to what it used to be. And you guys have heard me talk about this a lot, but it's a perfect analogy of what has happened here. And one example I use a lot is like when I was a kid, my dad would take me fishing, either down at Table Rock Lake or Grand Lake here in Missouri quite a bit. And Dad didn't know, he liked to fish, but he didn't, compared to now, he didn't know hardly anything about fishing. We had a little 16-foot V-bottom boat with a 28 horsepower motor on it. It didn't have any depth finders, no electronics. It had a little 12-volt trolling motor on the back of the boat. And the only thing that Dad ever fished with was like a purple flip-tail worm and a white and black hellbender on a spinning rod. And every time that we went fishing with Dad or a friend of his down there, they would always catch big ones. It's like at Grand Lake or Table Rock, they'd always catch a 7 or 8 pounder. I remember vividly. I've got pictures of them. And then also when I started getting seriously into bass fishing and I started fishing some of the lakes around here in Missouri, like Table Rock and Bull Shoals and Grand Lake, it was the same thing. There was a period from about 1978 to about 1983 where during the peak times of the year, if I went down to Table Rock Lake and did not catch a 7 to 9 pound bass, it was an exception to the rule. And it would always take 8 to 9.5 pounds would win every big bass award on Table Rock, and even on Grand Lake to some extent. And now if you fast forward to 2025, most of the time it only takes about a 5, maybe a 6 pounder to win big bass in a tournament. Most of the time it's 4.5 to 5.5 pounds will win big bass in a big tournament. Okay, now think this for example. Back then, when those dudes in that picture in the thumbnail caught that massive stringer at Lake Okeechobee, they probably had white Dacron line. They probably had a level line reel that was just like a winch that had no gear ratio on it and could probably only cast 30 feet with the thing. And they probably had like a Lucky 13 wooden topwater, and they caught that massive string of bass. If you went to Okeechobee today with the same setup those guys caught those giants with, you'd probably never get a bite. And the same thing like now, it's like if you went to Table Rock Lake or Grand or whatever with that white hellbender and that purple flip-tail worm that my dad used to fish and catch big ones on, you'd probably never get a bite on it. But they caught giants back then. And now, even though we have the latest and greatest, we got all this high-tech electronic bullshit like Live Scope, we got high-tech lures that are We got tungsten, we got the best of everything, the best equipment that money can possibly buy, and the number and the size of big bass are at an all-time low. So why is that? Why are there not more big fish than there used to be years ago? Number one, the main, well, it's not the main thing, it's the only thing, we don't have the numbers of fish we used to. It's like, I can promise you guys, one of the reasons why fishing was better for big ones, and fishing in general 30, 40, 50 years ago, is there was 10 times more bass in the lakes than we have right now. We have a fraction of the bass in the lakes than we used to. But the problem you have is nobody talks about this, because there's this illusion that has been created that fishing is okay and fishing is decent, because we have gotten so good at catching the bass that are left in our lakes. So let's say, for example, if you and I went down to Table Rock Lake back in 1970, and we caught some big ones with that flip-tail worm or a hellbender, there were probably, like I said, 10 times the number of bass in the lake at Table Rock back then, even though we didn't know anything about catching them. It's like we didn't have maps, we didn't have GPS, we didn't have depth finders. You just went to a rocky bank and started fishing, and you caught them because there were more bass. You can't do that now. We do not have the bass. The bass that we have right now are highly educated, they're highly pressured, bigger fish are smarter than any other type of fish, and that is why you don't see those big ones anymore. And I've seen this before on a microcosm level, because you guys may have heard me talk about it. I used to own a 40-acre lake that I had myself, that I managed. It was like a dream come true for a fisherman to have his own 40-acre lake. And obviously this thing didn't get fished hardly at all, except for, myself and a few friends. And the number of giant bass in that place was unbelievable, simply because they were protected, they didn't get taken out, they didn't get a lot of fishing pressure, and they were allowed to get big. That is the same thing that used to happen to the lakes now, but as our fishing pressure increases, as the number of fish that are killed from tournaments and from live scope with bear trauma issues constantly reduces, as the number of people that don't let big ones go when they catch them and they flay them out or they mount them, all this stuff contributes to the fact that we just don't have the big ones like we used to. And the only way that we're going to have big ones is for people to stop fishing stop fishing as much. That's the only way those fish will get big. Now, I mean, you can talk all you want to about habitat and water quality, but that's not the issue. It's like, I don't care how good the habitat is and how good the water quality is. If you have this unrelenting pressure on bass fisheries, it's going to reflect that. And especially, like I said, you don't have the urgency with that, because when you go out and you see some of these tournaments, like somebody goes down to Lake Guntersville and catches a 30-pound bag at Lake Guntersville, or somebody catches a big bag at Okeechobee or whatever, then the first thing people say is like, oh, the fisheries are great, there's nothing wrong with our fisheries, everything's fine. But you forgot to tell them, it's like, how did they catch those fish? They freaking live scope that big bag of fish out in open water, and they use these high-tech lures that are these $50 lures or whatever, that are they're engineered to look and sound exactly like bait fish. And you've got fishing equipment that you can cast 75 yards with. You got power poles, you got trolling motors that have 100 pounds of thrust on them. You got all this stuff, the best of the best equipment to catch the few fish that are there. And it creates this illusion that fishing is better than it is. So here's my argument on thing. Let's say you go to Lake Guntersville or Lake Okeechobee or Clear Lake in Florida or whatever the awesome lake, O.H. Ivy in Texas, any of these famous lakes, and that they occasionally catch big ones on. You go there right now, you take that little 16-foot V-bottom that me and Dad had with the trolling motor on the back of it with no depth finder, and we'll get you a bag full of 7-inch, purple flip-tail worms and 3 or 4 white and black hellbenders, and you go to those lakes that everybody says is full of big ones and see how many bass you catch. You're not going to catch crap on that, simply because those fish are not there in the numbers they used to be, and the ones that are there are highly educated. So anyway, guys, it's a dilemma. It's one of those things that's like, it's never going to get any better because people are not willing to do what it's going to take to get better. The only way that our fisheries will recover, it's like with Table Rock Lake, the only way that Table Rock Lake is going to return to those days of the world's full 7 and 9 pounders is if nobody fished Table Rock Lake for 10 years. It's like if it was off limits to the public, those fish would have a chance to get big and, you know, not be molested, but that's not going to happen. So the days of catching giant bags and giant strings like you see in this thumbnail, that's pretty much over until humans are, you know, removed from this planet. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. We'll talk later.